Sha'Carri Richardson just proved that mathematics and physics mean absolutely nothing when you have raw, generational speed. Running on a bumpy grass track in rural Australia, giving opponents massive head starts, the 144-year-old Stawell Gift handicap system was engineered to make her lose. Instead, she broke the algorithm. To understand why an Olympic champion risked her legacy on this obscure hillside, we have to go back to Dallas. Born in Dallas, Texas in March 2000, Sha'Carri Richardson grew up in a working-class neighborhood where speed was survival. Her grandmother, Betty Harp, raised her after her biological mother struggled with addiction. The track became Richardson's sanctuary, a place where her explosive energy could find purpose. At Carter High School in Dallas, Richardson dominated every sprint event she touched. College scouts watched her blur past competitors on synthetic tracks across Texas, knowing they were witnessing something special. When she arrived at Louisiana State University in 2018, she carried the hopes of a program desperate to reclaim its sprinting legacy. The purple and gold LSU uniform looked made for Richardson's personality. Her confidence on the track matched her flair off it, with vibrant nail art and colorful hair that caught camera flashes at every meet. But beneath the style was substance. In 2019, she ran the fastest NCAA 100-meter time in history, clocking 10.75 seconds at the NCAA Championships in Austin, Texas. That performance put her name in Olympic conversations, but it also put pressure on shoulders that were still learning to carry expectations. The road to Tokyo wasn't smooth. Richardson's explosive talent came with an equally explosive personality that didn't always mesh with traditional athletics culture. She spoke her mind when others stayed silent. She celebrated with passion when others remained composed. The track and field establishment didn't quite know what to do with a sprinter who refused to fit their mold. At the U.S. Olympic Trials in Eugene, Oregon, Richardson reminded everyone why speed doesn't care about politics. She flew down lane 6 in 10.86 seconds, punching her ticket to Tokyo with a performance that had the Hayward Field crowd on their feet. The celebration was pure Richardson, arms raised high, orange hair flowing as she soaked in the moment. But then came the headlines that changed everything. A positive marijuana test following her trials victory led to a 1-month suspension that kept her out of the 100 meters at the Tokyo Olympics. The dreams she'd chased since running barefoot in Dallas playgrounds vanished in an instant. The cannabis use, Richardson revealed, had been her way of coping with learning about her biological mother's death just before the trials. The weight of grief, pressure, and public scrutiny crushed down on a 21-year-old who had grown up too fast in the spotlight. While the world debated her choices, Richardson faced a different kind of race, not against opponents on a track, but against doubt, depression, and the whispers that maybe she wasn't built for the biggest stages. The comeback trail led through anonymous training sessions in Dallas, where Richardson rebuilt not just her speed, but her mental approach to the sport. She worked with sports psychologists, adjusted her training methods, and slowly began to silence the critics who had written her off. After missing out on the 2022 World Championships team, Richardson used the setback as fuel. A year later, at the 2023 World Championships in Budapest, she finally claimed her undeniable place among the sport's elite. She won gold in the 100 meters from lane 9, running a championship record 10.65 seconds in a performance that felt like vindication and redemption rolled into one blazing sprint. The Paris Olympics in 2024 completed her resurrection. Richardson earned a hard-fought silver in the 100 meters and heroically anchored the USA 4x100 meter relay team to Olympic gold, standing on the podium as the American flag rose above the Stade de France. The tears on her face told the story of a journey that had taken her through hell and back to glory. But even with world titles and Olympic medals, something was missing. Richardson had conquered the traditional sprint circuit, but she craved a different kind of challenge. That's what brought her to Australia in April 2026, to a small town most Americans had never heard of, for a race unlike anything she'd ever experienced. The Stawell Gift isn't just another sprint meet, it's a 144-year-old tradition that turns the Victorian countryside into Australia's sprint capital every Easter weekend. The race covers 120 meters on a grass track, but here's the twist that makes champions question everything they know about racing. It's a handicap race. The fastest runners start from scratch with no advantage, while slower competitors get head starts based on their personal bests. Some runners begin 25 meters ahead of the scratch mark, turning what should be a straightforward sprint into a tactical chess match played at world record pace. For Richardson, choosing to compete from the scratch mark was like agreeing to fight with one hand tied behind her back. She would have to overcome not just the handicap system, but the grass surface that makes every stride unpredictable compared to the synthetic tracks she dominated her entire career. The town of Stawell transforms during Gift weekend. Population swells from 2,000 to over 20,000 as sprint fans, gamblers, and athletics enthusiasts descend on Central Park. Local pubs overflow with stories of past champions, while bookmakers calculate odds that factor in wind conditions, track moisture, and the psychological pressure of running on Australia's most famous piece of grass. Richardson's arrival created a buzz that rippled through the small Victorian community. Here was an Olympic gold medalist and world champion, tied as the 5th fastest woman in recorded history, agreeing to test herself against handicap racing's unique demands. The heats revealed just how difficult her task would be. Richardson watched as competitors with significant head starts blazed down the grass track, some finishing in times that would have been impossible on a standard athletics track, thanks to their handicap advantages. The mathematics were brutal. She needed to run faster than she'd ever run on grass, while making up ground against opponents who seemed to have physics on their side. In the final, Richardson lined up in lane 4 at the scratch mark, staring down a field that included Charlotte Nielsen, a teenage Australian sprinter who would start 9 meters ahead. The crowd that had gathered around the grass track fell silent as the starter raised his pistol. The race lasted just over 13 seconds, but those 13 seconds contained a masterclass in tactical sprinting. Richardson's start was measured, not the explosive launch that had carried her to world titles. She seemed to understand that on grass, patience could be more valuable than pure aggression. At the 50-meter mark, Nielsen's lead looked insurmountable. But then, Richardson shifted gears. Her stride lengthened, and suddenly the gap began to shrink. With 20 meters to go, 2 generations of sprinting matched stride for stride. In the final 10 meters, Richardson's championship pedigree took over. She edged Nielsen by inches in a photo finish, crossing the line in an adjusted 13.15 seconds. She had beaten the Stawell Gift from scratch, overcoming the mathematics designed to level the playing field. Speaking to Australian television, Richardson revealed the race helped her rediscover why she fell in love with sprinting. Without the global pressure, it felt like playing tag as a child in Dallas. Speed as pure fun. The handicap system was built to give every runner a chance, but Richardson turned mathematics into poetry, physics into art. Highlighting the sheer difficulty of this feat, her partner, fellow world-class sprinter Christian Coleman, failed to advance to the men's final from his own scratch mark. As news spread beyond the Victorian countryside, this wasn't just viewed as another win. It was the ultimate validation of a talent that had survived controversy and emerged stronger than ever. Sometimes the greatest victories happen when nobody expects them, against challenges that seem designed to ensure failure. Sha'Carri Richardson's Stawell Gift triumph proved that champions don't just run fast. They run fast enough to rewrite the mathematics of what everyone else believes is possible.